Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Trustee Rogers.
Present.
Trustee Reinders.
Present.
Trustee Pasmino.
Present.
Trustee Consolino.
Present.
Trustee Fialco.
Present.
Trustee Laha.
Present.
Mayor Yukich.
Present. Are there any amendments to the agenda? I need a motion to approve the minutes of July 13th, 2022.
Council, I have a question for you. Council Horvath. In the event that there's something wrong with the minutes entirely, not just segments that you could simply amend, do you recommend we table that until they're fixed? Do you recommend we vote no to it? How do you recommend we proceed?
If there are so many incorrections in the minutes that they can't be approved, then we should table them and then discuss with the clerk what the corrections should be so that they can be brought back to the village board at the next meeting.
Thank you, sir, because there's whole segments that are missing. So,
If it's just a minor correction or one or two items, you can then discuss it, move to make the corrections.
these are major reports that are missing. So, thank you.
Okay, so you're going to make a motion to deal with?
Yes, sir.
Is that the table just the July 13th?
They're actually both really wrong.
Can we do both of them at one time, or do we have to do
You
that
can move to
separately?
table both sets
Okay.
of minutes. yeah.
Thank you.
Who's going to make the motion for both of them?
Well, my motion is for both of them to be tabled.
And I second. Okay.
Please call the roll.
Trustee Fialco.
Aye.
Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Trustee Rogers.
Aye.
Trustee Consolino.
Aye.
Trustee Laha.
Aye.
And Trustee Pasmino.
Aye.
Okay. Next would be public comments. Sir, first one would be Angel Shake.
Good evening, Mayor, trustees, board. I hate standing up here speaking. I normally don't, but I have a question. It's been bothering me since the last meeting, and I think it's maybe on other people's minds too, so I'm just gonna bring it up here and maybe you guys can address it later. The last meeting I was at, you guys voted in favor of censuring Mayor Yukich. And my problem with that is, I feel like I have people coming to me that aren't from our town, and they're asking me questions that I can't answer. And then I realized that that was the board's resolution, but it really wasn't a resolution, because I feel like we just became like the laughingstock town of the southwest side. The mayor got censured for something that he is clearly saying, he said that's not my signature, okay? We have to take him for his word because that's our mayor. Now we have a forensic handwriting analyst that comes in, and he said it's pretty reasonably without a doubt that that was the mayor's signature. Well, now I can see when you have a stack of papers like this that come in front of you, you're signing papers upon papers, right? It is very possible that the mayor signed something that was in a stack of papers and he really thought, that's not my signature. I don't remember seeing this, right? So what came to my mind that I thought was never addressed here at a public meeting, why didn't anyone just say, there was a signature, right? There is a witness to that signature. I believe now I'm not here like to know how this works exactly, but I believe that the clerk, so I don't know if it would be Christina or if it would have been one of the other clerks, but somebody had to have witnessed that and signed that was their signature saying, yes, I witnessed the mayor's signature. So what I'm wondering is, did somebody witness that? Did you witness that, Christina, or anybody witness that signature? And if there was a signature saying it was witnessed, then I'm hoping that maybe that could have just been clarified and we could have resolved this by saying it was just a mistake. Maybe there was a mistake, okay? But it never got resolved by just saying, okay, we're gonna do this to Mayor Yukich. Well, now his name is smeared too. So now nobody else's name was cleared, the mayor's name is smeared, and nothing was ever done to resolve the issue. So if somebody can please, Christina, maybe you can address that during your clerk's report, or maybe somebody can just address if I missed it during a meeting, was that ever, you know, did somebody witness that signature? Because maybe we didn't need that forensic analyst or anything else. If somebody would have just asked the question, okay, did somebody witness this? Because if nobody witnessed it, maybe it actually didn't happen and it just got slipped in. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
You. Next will be Glen Portfolio.
Thank you, Mayor and trustees. I got two things I wanted to cover tonight. As the newly elected Homer Township Highway Commissioner last April, I inherited an incomplete roadway district facility. There's no running water, there's no toilets, no sewer, no water, no offices, rundown equipment. We had no material stock, no salt storage structure, no fire protection, no paved access roads to the facility. Over the course of the last year, I'm proud and excited to say that the facility is now complete, and I wanted to announce to the public that we're going to be having a public ribbon cutting ceremony and facility dedication 2 weeks from today. It's going to be from 3 to 6 p.m. on October 26th. There's going to be refreshments there, and of course it's near Halloween, so we're going to have some candy for the kids if you would like to bring them as well. I'll be there, of course, with my staff, and we'll have the trucks and everything out in the yard, so you know they got that touch a truck thing. If the kids want to climb on a few of the trucks in a safe environment, we'd love to have them. So that's the first thing I want to talk about. Second thing, as a member of the Homer Township Land Use Committee and Planning and Zoning Commission, I wanted to touch base quick on the Trantina Farm Event Center. There's an annexation agreement. The reason why I'm here is Homer Glen has an annexation agreement with Homer Township for this development, and it's zoned A1 from what I remember. So the annexation agreement allows the development on the Trantina Farm for the event center. The event center has been being planned for Homer Township since back in 1998 by Supervisor Ron Savara, and it was formalized in 2020, just 2 years ago, by an approved referendum that was on the ballot in November. It's for educational, environmental, recreational, and social community activities. It was formally adopted by the Homer Township Board soon after the election. So that's the background of what it is. Obviously, you can't put an event center out in the middle of a grass field. You got to provide infrastructure to it. You got to run utilities for it. You got to provide parking facilities for it. It's not going to just be a pole barn structure as it was on the ballot. So how do you fund this? There's a lot of spirited comments and back and forth on Facebook over the past few months. I appreciate all the comments that I receive, anywhere from 6 in the morning to midnight. It gets tiresome sometimes, but I wanted to go on public record real quick with how we're providing the local grant fund matching grant. We're providing the local match to the grant funding. And the only way to do that is to provide a sale of our current land. There are 2 other ways to do it. You could solicit a tax increase via referendum, which we're not going to do, and it's not allowed on the original bonds from the sale. Secondly, what you could do is you could float bonds with a 30-year payback, but that would back taxpayers into a corner. You could use the revenue from the facility to pay for those bonds, but you know, if everybody remembers COVID, you could have a shutdown of the facility and the taxpayers are left holding the bag. There might be a $10,000 to $15,000 a month note on those bonds for 30 years for an anticipated $2 to $3 million local match. So I just wanted to touch on those few items. And I invite everybody, on the 17th, on next Monday, the Homer Township is going to have a meeting in this room for a discussion of this item. And I'd like to encourage everyone to come out and listen to what has to be said. And thank you for your time.
Next would be Steve Ellis.
Good evening, Board and Mr. Mayor. I want to give you a little bit of a history lesson. If you go back in time, and this is about the Purdy Farm being sold and all that stuff. So it's going to be related to the village what I'm going to talk about, not the township. So back in 2002, two village board members that are out there saying stuff that we can't do, Gail Snyder and Margaret Sabo, they're saying we can't do this community center. Well, in 2002, both of those were part of a board that took the strip mall out of open space that's on Bell Road. They also took the senior housing out of open space that's on Bell Road. And then the remaining 40 acres of land on Bell Road, they voted, along with the Planning Commission of Homer Glen, to make it E1. It's residential homes. Now, did they do something wrong? No, because before the bond was even passed, the Homer Township Board paid for a letter to go out to convince everybody to vote for the open space program. The open space program, according to this letter that went to everybody to say vote for this, and I got the documents, they paid for it, and the return address is the Homer Township Administration Center. So it's indisputable that they sent it. It says that the open space program will include parks, residential, and commercial. They said nothing about farming. They said nothing about anything else. They said parks, residential, and commercial. So I did a video today, I went over there, and you know what? I have no problem with what they did. When they did that, that was smart suburban development, which is a statement that's on the bond document. The township can do smart suburban development. So that means that, do I like that? Yeah, that was smart. They did a good job.
You have 30 seconds.
They're being hypocrites right now and they're attacking me. So I know I'm run out of time, so I will skip the rest and then I'll just go to thank the mayor, because in 2020 on June 18th, he sent a letter to the state about the affordable housing plan and asked for an extension. I don't think anybody knew about it. I just happened to find the document. But in that thing, thank you, Mr. Mayor, you identified where the Section 8 can go. And I got the document. I don't know if your board knows about that, but that's a fact. And so I'm thanking you for that. I am thanking you. So with that, I'm finished, and God bless you guys.
Mike Dean.
Board, Mayor, I think.
Who knows? Who knows?
I come up here as a resident for 35 years. I know the lady before me, she was trying to say that they never gave you an opportunity to go back and reflect if that was your signature or not. They did. Ruben stated that. I watched it 4 times to see if they gave you the opportunity to see if that was your signature or not. You said no. He said, let it go. Well, let it go. But you did not. You were trying to get one of these board members up here Whoever it was, I think it was Dan, you mentioned Dan's name and you pointed him out. Why? I don't know. But here, I have articles here that stated 14 where they said that it was your signature and they matched it with yours. Mayor, I can't believe they just gave you a censure. I thought you would just step down and walk away. Because this board, I'm a voter. You will never get my vote. Never. After today. I know you can't run anymore in April, but it would have been my advice to step down. Now with Rogers, she says that there's going to be taxes coming from the water. And how can we lower the taxes around here? Easy. I don't want to pay any school taxes. $4,300. What's going in these school systems is terrible. Just give me that money. I'll be happy. I know where to spend my money now. These school systems are upside down. I just wished everybody would come to a census on some of this stuff. And for the cameras, we're going to spend $30,000, so if my car goes through there doing nothing, they're going to say, well, this guy's car went through there. Maybe there was something that happened. Pritzker's putting them all over the place now. We see him in the city of Chicago. Has that helped anybody? You're talking $30,000. When is it going to stop? I don't see it stopping. One camera after another. I always think when you look on China, they have cameras all around, and if they stepped out of the door, what happened? They give them a fish and bring them to jail. That's in China. CCP, I don't want it to happen here with any cameras. I'll be the first one to say, I want my movement to be free. Are we going to be free? I don't know. Elections have consequences, as they say. I'm at wits with myself with some of the things that are going on, but for you, Mayor, I wish you would have just stepped down and did the wise thing. And for Rose, I'd just like to ask, when is this thing for the veterans? I've been trying to get some other veterans to go out there for November 5th. I think it's outstanding. Some of you guys are doing some outstanding work here. And I just wish it would continue on. And with the open land, I think Steve just said it, and he probably will show you the articles and everything else. I have them here. He was showing me. I really don't know too much about it.
You have 30 seconds.
But for a 35-year resident, really just kind of minding my own business, coach a little football, baseball, help kids out. I just wanted to sit back and retire. And now what's going on, I don't know if now I'll get more involved. It's a shame. I'm up in the ages, and we'll see what happens. Thank you for the time, and board, you're doing an outstanding job. I just wish, Mayor, you would have considered and just left.
Okay. Reports and communications from the mayor and other officers. Everyone keeps beating a dead horse here. I did not put the name up there. It's not my signature. I stand by it still. And for me just to say yes to make everything go away, that's not going to happen. There are some people in here that know what happened. They don't want to say anything. They don't want to say anything because they're afraid they'll lose their job. Otherwise, they'll be put on Facebook and get beaten down like they do to so many other people. So, no. I'm going to be here till the day that I'm done. So that's 175 days, I think. So you're going to have to grin and bear it. I'm not going to do anything stupid to this village. All the people in this village that did vote for me, trust me. They still trust me.
Mayor, since you're pointing this out, I'm going to walk away. But I want you to read this. What's in the Tribune?
That's fine, I've already read it.
Here you go. You can read this, read that. It's all over the place.
Yeah, I've already got it.
That's yours, Mayor. You own it.
So that's my report. Next, we'll go to the trustees. Go to Trustee Consolino first.
I just wanted to explain to everybody that there was a fire on Friday morning over at the Sherlock Holmes Self-Storage Facility at 159th and Barker. Firefighters were forced to attack the fire from 2 remote locations due to the spread of the fire from the original unit to adjacent aisles. No one was injured, thankfully, and I'd like to say thank you to the brave Northwest Homer Fire and Homer Township Fire Departments. That's all I have to report. Thank you.
Next will be Trustee Lab.
Reporting on behalf of the Ability Awareness Committee, the committee would like to acknowledge that October is Down Syndrome Awareness Month, and the month is used to advocate for inclusion and acceptance, and the Ability Awareness Committee would like to celebrate. We are excited to see the progress of the playground and the Valito swing that is going up, and if you haven't gone to see it, I have to say it's enough to make you emotional. It's very exciting. So our next meeting for the parks is this week, and
This Monday.
Monday, thank you, this Monday, and for the Ability Awareness Committee meeting, we're going to be starting to plan for the roundtable discussion, and that is going to include legal, and after your disabled child reaches 22, what happens next, and I believe we're going to have speakers from ARC coming, and it's an amazing organization to find out what resources they have. That's my report.
Thank you. Next will be Trustee Rogers.
No report.
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting for Community and Economic Development. We finalized updates and changes to the SOP 7 to streamline the selection process. Now, basically what SOP 7 is, for those who don't know, it's a program for our bigger businesses and other businesses in town that basically goes based off of your sales. So whatever tax dollars that you contribute, you're refunded a percentage of that. The program, as of now, will be limited to the businesses with a minimum of 10 million in annual sales. And at this point, we think that's just a better way to go about it, because, of course, we'll be going off a percentage of the sales tax, where a smaller business can't really benefit from that. They're better off benefiting from actual grants. And that's the direction we're going to point the smaller businesses to. Just a lot more advantageous for them. Now, also reporting for the Environment Committee, the village has had many inquiries over the past years in reference to planting memorial trees in our parks. So we threw around a few ideas, and in the last committee meeting, we looked at a few of our surrounding neighbors like Lamont, Lockport, and a few organizations like the Morton Arboretum, who've established programs that also incorporate trees, benches, plaques, and so on. The direction that we're headed, though, is something that is paid for and contributed by the actual contributors, the people that are commemorating loved ones, family, people that are influential in their lives. So I think that's a very exciting program. We're still working on it, and once we, bring it to a level where we feel comfortable bringing it forward, we'll let everybody know. That's all I have, sir.
Okay, thank you. Next would be Trustee Renders.
Good evening, everybody. I would just like to give everybody an update on the park. As you know, I've been putting out the videos on social media for everybody to see the progress. Right now, we're in a hold for the weather. They did pour the actual curbs for that, and then the last phase of that would be to do the pour and play floor. So once they put that in, it has to settle for a few days, and then we'll be planning, Nicole and myself will be planning a ribbon cutting for the playground, and everybody can start to use it. We've got such a great response from everybody. Looking forward to using the facility, and a lot of our I was out in the park the other day, and there were some parents out there with some handicapped children, and they were so excited. They just couldn't wait for it to open. With that, I also have something that I'd like to bring to the attention of this village and to this board. In the spirit of transparency, I would like to address the situation that seems to be going on in the village and in the township. And as a member of the senior committee, I take great pride in the services that we are providing to our seniors. Last week, I was apprised of a situation that was affecting the senior bingo. Apparently, somebody either placed a call or wrote a letter to the Illinois Department of Revenue reporting trustee Mike Bonomo for either pocketing money or not having a license or using the money for other things other than the senior bingo. I had a conversation with the Illinois Department of Revenue. Basically, what it all boiled down to is that we did not have a $200 license that is required by the Illinois Department of Revenue. With that said, I contacted 10 different townships between here and southern Illinois, and not one township had a license. Every single one of those townships provided a service to their seniors. They held the bingo, they charged them for their cards, they did not provide lunch. What most of you don't know is that the $5 that the seniors pay for their lunch, I'm sorry, not for their lunch, for their cards, that money is split up into the 10 games that we have, and it's given back to the seniors. We make no profit, and we do not pocket money. So to whomever the person is that decided to report us, and whoever you are, you know who you are, and you have to live with yourself for that, for doing something against the seniors, it's unconscionable. It's unconscionable that somebody that would do something like that. After I spoke with these townships, they asked me, please, would you please call us back and let us know how this plays out? So to the people out there, just to let you know that we have and are in the process of filing for the license. But I mean, to do this to a trustee just because of political reasons, because you don't like the township, you don't like us, you don't like this board, is unconscionable. We're human beings here, and so are the seniors, and they're the backbone of this community. So anybody that would attack them is vile, in my opinion. That's all I have.
Yes, sir. Reporting for the fest. We're in negotiations right now with the fireworks company. I was on the phone with them today. We are negotiating possibly another 3-year contract with them, also to save in future years, to keep that cost at in control. So that'll be going to A&F once we get that put to paper. I'm planning on having that ready by January's meeting for A&F. The same thing with the carnival. The carnival contract expires. We're working with the carnival and the changes that they're looking for and the changes that we're looking to make for improvements. That'll be the same thing on the A&F committee. It'll go to A&F for the January meeting and also to the fest for their approval. In the meantime, I've been negotiating with approximately 8 bands at this point, and it looks like we're locked in with at least 8 of the 12 bands so far. I am still in the process, though, of negotiating some of the prices and to try and keep us well within the budget. That would go for the carnival, for the fireworks, and for the bands, and to keep those costs low and affordable the best that we can. But that is my report, sir.
Thank you. Next will be Village Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a couple of things to report, but there was a resident here earlier that had asked a question. If you don't mind, I'd like to respond to that. Ms. Shake, yes, I do attest to the mayor's signature when it does require my signature. This particular license does not require my signature. When it was brought to my attention that there was a possible forgery, I did look at the signature and I did ask the mayor, or I did tell the mayor, it does look like your signature to me. However, George felt that it was not his. There was nothing more that I can do further to that. I do not witness every signature that the mayor signs. No clerk has ever done that, just to answer your question. You're welcome. To what Trustee Reinders had said earlier, I couldn't agree with you more. Whoever did this, or this is the first I'm hearing of this, should be ashamed of themselves. I will say I was a part of the senior committee for a very long time until you had been brought on, that I have witnessed Mike Bonomo actually pay for lunches out of his own pocket, and he does a lot of work for those seniors. So there is no pocketing that I could attest to from Bonomo. The last thing I'd like to report, which I unfortunately have to report this once again to put this behind us, but at the last board meeting, the July 29th incident was brought up once again. Although I put this incident behind me months ago, I can actually understand why some people here cannot. But I think by providing some proof and some information that I have brought today will help put this behind us. On July 28th, I did go to a golf outing. I have a statement here from the manager of Silver Lakes Golf Course stating that the employee that I had spoke to agreed, and I have it right here, that I had said or done nothing negative of Trustee Reinders. If you guys would like to see that statement, I have that here. The manager also went on to do a full investigation and ask all the other employees as well if I had spoke negative or spoke to any of them at all. And the only person I spoke to was the beverage cart woman who says that I had said nothing bad of Ms. Reinders. I actually spoke highly of her restaurant and her meatballs. The next thing I'd like to clarify is the statement was made that the court, the judge, had dismissed the case. That is not true. I have the paperwork right here that says the motion was dismissed based on the motion of the petitioner. So that's clarification number 2. Clarification number 3 was who called the police that day. It was not me. I have the reports to show that I had, along with Carmen, the village manager, had agreed, as we have done in the past, that for protocol that we do here, that when there's an incident with an elected official, that we contact the police department, not through 911, not through CAD, no other way, but to simply say, I need you here to document a situation. Situation was documented here in the office. With Carmen's statement and the witness's statement, the police had contacted you. You then, had contacted Trustee Reinders. Trustee Reinders then turned around and called the police herself, and the report says she is the complainant. That's clarification number 3. Number 4 is on the circuit court. This one I will apologize to Trustee Reinders for. There is a mistake on the report, which I did try to have clarified, which they would not do. On the respondent, it asks, is the respondent suicidal? That's the comment that was made at the last board meeting. That question was never asked of me, and if it was, my answer would have been no. I did try to get this fixed. However, they said we had to go to court, which we did again. They said the case was dismissed. The next thing I'd like to clarify is the statements of that Trustee Reinders was not allowed on the grounds of the Village Hall. That is not true. I have the transcripts here from the court stating that Trustee Reinders is allowed to be on the premises and allowed to attend meetings. Is there any questions about any of this? I just want to clarify any disputes, any rumors?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
I have a question. On your complaint, on the very bottom of your complaint, it says that I have read and I attest to that I would not commit perjury on this complaint. And on that complaint, it's the X mark box suicidal was marked. You had every opportunity at that time when you went to court on August 19th and you went to court on September 6th. You had every opportunity at that point in time to tell the court that you felt there was a mistake or that you needed to motion this case back up to have a mistake corrected. Number 2.
I did do that, by the way.
By the way, number 2, your complaint was, yes, dismissed for the order of no contact. On that order of no contact, I have a signed copy of yours that said I was not allowed within 100 feet of this village hall, and I have a document to prove that as well.
And we must have two
I have an
different
attorney
ones.
that I was represented by. My attorney clarified I was not allowed within 100 feet of this village hall. And as far as the case being dismissed for the battery, you did not dismiss anything.
Because I didn't file charges.
The state's attorney chose not to prosecute the case.
You are correct. I did not file charges, so I cannot dismiss charges.
You filed charges. Your name is all over the report.
Trustee Reinders.
Point of order at this point, please. Can we carry on with the meeting?
Okay, well, I do have here that it says, from the transcripts from the court, I'm in the middle of my report, I have the right to speak. I am not, this is the,
Ma'am, there is a point of order. The trustee is asked to carry on with the meeting, and I think this matter has been fully discussed, so why don't we carry
it has not been fully discussed.
This is all point of order, and she's got the right to talk.
I just want to clarify.
Mayor, she
You
has the
were.
right to talk about
You don't have a right
village
to-
business. She doesn't have the right to talk about her own personal acts that she's trying to grind at this meeting.
This has nothing to do with you. You are the lawyer for...
Now I'm going to call a
Actually,
point of order because now people are being disrespectful on this board, and I'm tired of it.
oh my God, really? Did
Yeah,
you look in a
really.
mirror?
Excuse you? Do you want to repeat what you just said to me? Do I look in a mirror? Do you look in a mirror?
Okay.
Now I'm going to call point of order again, maybe a little louder and maybe a little clearer. Who on this board right now wants this to continue? Or do we want to continue with the meeting? I'd like to take a consensus of the actual voting board members.
Anything to do with village business, that's fine. If it's personal issues, no.
You don't
I
have
had
to be here.
requested to have a one-on-one conversation multiple times to clarify this. That conversation was denied. I will end my report. I just wanted to clarify the lies and the rumors and the misstatements that were made at the last board meeting. That's all. I've tried to talk about it off the record, but I was denied.
All right, village clerk we're all set, Christine.
Thank you.
Next, village attorney.
No report, Your Honor.
You too, Carrie.
I do not have a report this evening, Your Honor.
Public safety officials, anything, Jeff?
No.
Village manager.
I do have a report, Mayor. In the light of the Halloween celebrations, we have a lot of stuff going on in the community. So I just want to touch base on a lot of the events that we are doing in the community. Our Scarecrow Walk is up and looking great. There's some great scarecrows out there. Please get out there and register your vote so we can get the 3 winners in. The families worked very hard, the library, everybody involved did a nice job. We also have Spooky in the Park, which has been up for a couple weeks now, and it's looking great. It's kind of nice. I actually took my grandkids out there to walk around the Spooky in the Park, and they really enjoyed it, so that was fun. I'd also like to talk about our trunk or treat, October 22nd. We've been in contact with the football organization, understanding that they have games that day. We are expecting about 2,000 trick-or-treaters. We will be doing some accommodations with a one-way lane entering Heritage Park and out. We'll have our EMA service there. Some of our public works will be out there to facilitate some of the parking, and it should be a lot of fun. We seem to have a big turnout with this, and it's a great time. There is one other thing that I would like to address with Beth Rogers and the board regarding if we can get some communications to our staff before we start posting stuff on Facebook, I would really appreciate it. Staff would be nothing but accommodating to any of you on the board and would bend over backwards in any case they can to facilitate anything you guys see that we may have missed. We would just appreciate it that we could get that to us first before we do put it out to the public. I appreciate that. That's all my report.
All set, Carmen?
Yes.
Okay, next is going to be consent agenda. Consider for approval the accounts payable for the period of September 30th, 2022 through October 13th, 2022 in the amount of $317,691.99. Consider number 2, consider a motion to approve payment of Village of Homer Glen's August legal bills from legislative attorney Odelson, Stirk, Murphy, Fraser, and McGrath, LTD, in the amount of $9,843.14. Number 3, consider for approval payment of the Village of Homer Glen's August legal bills from Mahoney Silverman Cross LLC in the amount of $1,998.75. Number 4, consider for approval payment to the Will County Sheriff's Office for Homerfest 22 overtime in the amount of $21,499.98. Number 5, consider for approval payment to Austin Tyler Construction for the Heritage Park cul-de-sac and sled project for the 10% retention and delivery of stored materials in the amount of $22,978.22. And number 6, consider for approval the proposal from Will County Well and Pump Company, Inc. for a sand separator in the amount of $8,375. I know this is a consent agenda, but number 8 shouldn't be on there. We shouldn't be paying a township bill for the $8,000. It should be going to the township.
Number 8 isn't on there.
There is no number.
All right, number 6.
Wait, what?
I'm sorry, what did you say? Shouldn't what, be on the why?
Well, they want us to pay $8,375 for a sand pump. We just got done paying $17,000 for the well pump. Neither one of them are our property. We took over the complex, and as soon as we did, this happened right off the bat. No one ever tested anything, no one ever did anything. Why does it keep going on Village of Homer Glen people's taxes and not the township?
We took over the parks.
I have a question, actually not a question, I have a comment for that. The township, including the township supervisor, was graceful enough to give us a ton of land for free. So I don't know anybody in this room that wouldn't take a ton of land. I think, how many acres is that?
Oh, not only that, but didn't we take all of the road district assets?
Absolutely,
and
it's
give
all
them
together.
Zero
Now
in return?
Here's the thing.
Okay.
It's a ton of land. It was given to us for free. Not only that, our sports teams, our local sports teams are using that. They're using that for football, baseball, whatever they want, and we don't have to answer to anybody for it. Why? Because we own it. Guess how much we paid? 0. Okay, so we paid, how much did you say, Your Honor? $12,000 for one remodeled at 17? Okay, now we're paying $8,300 for a pump system so that everybody doesn't flood? Great. Most likely it will be nothing else, but I'm sorry, but if somebody was giving me a bunch of acres of land and I had to pay what? I'll pay $30,000. But guess what? I'd be a happy guy, and I would not be looking a gift horse in the mouth. And I guarantee you, if it was your idea, you wouldn't be fighting it. That's all I have, sir.
In addition to that, though, the road district, when we got vehicles, we had to repair a bunch of vehicles from the road district, and nothing was brought up at that time. I don't know what the total amount for that was at that time, but looking into this a little bit, yes, we did pay for that, for the well, but the problem, just so the public knows, is on this property, there's a lot of sand because it was a golf course, and that sand is leaking into the aquifer, which then the water that's taken out of the ground, out of the well, brings up the sand and destroys all the sprinkler heads. We had this conversation in detail in A&F, Admin and Finance, and we tried to explain it to the mayor as best as we could. The problem is coming from our property, and then we're going to ask the township to pay a bill for something that they gave to us when the problem's being created by our property in the aquifer. This is to protect those assets over there with the well and with the pump. The sand separator is going to make it so the sprinkler heads won't be damaged by the sand. That's what it's for. It seems like a little bit of money in the beginning, but it saves you a lot of money in the end. And I used this example in A&F. I said, Mayor Yukich, if Ruben gave you his house and the drain was clogged, would you tell him, I'm not going to take your house because the drain's not working properly? That's the same equivalent here. We've got a small little problem. We've been given the gift of all this land for free, and now we're going to insult the township by saying, oh, you got to help us pay for the little infraction that happened here that we found. I don't believe that, and I don't believe that if he was given somebody's house and the drain was clogged, he'd tell him, I don't want your house till you fix the drain. I don't believe that's going to happen. So I'm just trying to give a parallel as to what we're doing here that doesn't make any sense. And then the second part of that is it's this property that was damaging that property in the aquifer. So it needs to be done. It helps out, just like Trustee Pasmino said, it's for the sports facilities, it's for all the people playing football and baseball. It waters the property over there. It's going to protect it. $8,000 is a drop in the bucket for what we were given, and I don't see any problem with it.
Okay, I have one thing to say and then one question to ask. I think this is strictly politicking as usual, and I would like to request that the village manager do us a favor for the next board meeting. Could you please find out exactly how much acreage that we obtained and what the value on the dollar would be for all of that?
Yes, I can.
That way we never have this discussion again. Thank you.
Well, in the long end, there's a $0 in it because they were already in Homer Glen to begin with. We didn't need to approve them to come into Homer Glen. The properties were already here. The deal that he cut is he would pay for all the maintenance on it, and I don't know if he's paying the maintenance on it.
But that was
I do
only until May
remember-
1.
But you do have to remember that he said he was going to pay all the amounts for mowing. Now, he didn't,
May
because it
1st.
just, you know what, I've got the floor.
Point of order, can we please vote?
You have a
We don't have a
we have a
motion yet.
consent agenda. There has to be a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda.
So move.
And, because I'm still talking.
No, I'd like to
We can't
motion.
talk until we motion it in, right? That's discussion.
There's no discussion.
You know what, the problem is,
There generally is no
Not
debate.
politicking on the board.
No trustee has asked to remove any item from the consent agenda. So the matter, if one of you wants to make a motion and then a second, you can move on the motion.
I believe I already motioned.
I will second that.
I'll call the vote.
You need to call the roll.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
No.
Trustee Cancelino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
And Trustee Laha?
Aye.
motion carries. Next, legislation and action items. Consider for approval a proclamation declaring October as October Oak Awareness Month.
So moved.
Second.
Who's reading it?
You go for it, sir. It's a high honor. Thank you.
It's all yours. That's your committee.
All right. My pleasure, sir. Thank you, everybody, for coming to the designation of October as Oaktober, Oak Awareness Month in the village of Homer Glen. Whereas, this is going to be long, whereas oak ecosystems have been a significant part of the Illinois landscape for more than 5,000 years and are now in the state of decline across the entire state of Illinois. And whereas the state tree of Illinois is the white oak. And whereas Illinois forest, woodland, and savanna communities have been greatly reduced statewide, and the remaining oak ecosystems are declining in health due to decline of the oak dominance. Whereas these threats and declines are due to the lack of public awareness, impacts of invasive species, poor management practices, and reduced resources, and whereas oak and ecosystems in Illinois provide needed food and support for native insects and wildlife, oak trees and their companion species contribute to important native biological diversity. And whereas research has shown that oak trees and forests improve our air, water quality, human health, social and economic well-being, provide jobs and revenue, and improve the overall quality of life for all citizens across the neighborhoods and community boundaries. Whereas Illinois statewide forest resource assessment and strategy identifies the loss of oak ecosystems as critical issues for the health of forest resources in Illinois and acknowledges the following: the significant decline of oak dominance, the change in forest landscapes, the decrease in forest health, and the significant need to teach the mechanics of oak regeneration, protect oak woodlands, and preserve our Illinois natural heritage. We're going to fast forward here. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the mayor and the board of trustees of the village of Homer Glen that October 2022 is recognized as Oaktober, Oak Awareness Month in the village of Homer Glen, Will County, Illinois, dated this 12th day of October 2022.
Thank you, sir. All right. Can you call the roll?
Trustee Cancelino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Laha?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino? Aye. Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
And Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, consider approval of the Village of Homer Glen's trick-or-treating hours for Halloween 2022.
So move.
Second.
I've been asked to bring this up for discussion. I had a few mothers and a couple teachers reach out to me that, bringing up the point that a lot of kids these days, since there are more kids on the bus, they're actually not getting off of the bus till around 3:30, 3:45, and 3:50. So a couple of things that were brought up to me is bus traffic and safety of kids if trick-or-treating hours start at 3, and you know how kids get so excited and they just, you know, want to hassle their parents to get out the door. I was asked if we can consider to push the hours back to 4 o'clock, from 4 o'clock to 7:30. So that's just for the board to consider and discuss.
I've got one better than that. Now I say this in light just a little bit, and I looked at this and it reminded me of not too long ago. We were talking about solicitors coming to our doors, and we wanted to narrow those hours down, but we were told about First Amendment rights. I say this in light, but I say it needs to be addressed. We have somebody that's knocking on your door up till 9 o'clock at night to ask you if you can buy a program to kill spiders. But yet we have a little trick-or-treater that's coming to the door that's dressed up as a spider, and we won't allow that person to trick-or-treat past 7 o'clock. So, Eric, you talked about First Amendment rights. Maybe you could help me out where the First Amendment rights would be for a trick-or-treater.
We've gone through this, trustee.
Okay.
We've explained it. You asked that we take a look in it. We have not had a chance to take a look into the soliciting ordinance.
With the trick-or-treaters, though, in the First Amendment?
It's a different situation. I think you're mixing apples and oranges.
No, I'm not. It's the same thing. People are knocking on your door. And so if one group of people have First Amendment rights to knock on the door, I'm just wondering where we draw the line. Because it doesn't make sense. And I'm all for safety, but I'm for safety with people knocking on your door that are trying to sell you things, and I'm for safety for the trick-or-treaters. So if we're going to allow solicitors to knock on the door till 9 o'clock at night, do I like that? Not at all. But do we want to
So you're suggesting that trick-or-treaters go till 9 o'clock?
At 7 o'clock? I'm not sure. I'm just putting it out to the board because we can't have it both. Again, this is one of those situations to me. You can't have it both ways. We want to restrict our residents, but we want to allow somebody to come in from outside of the community and knock on the door anytime they want. So it's not that I don't believe we should have a little bit of control over it. I'm saying, where do you draw the line when it comes to both in the First Amendment rights of anybody that would be in this village?
So I noticed on some of these, we had surrounding village, once we did the comparisons, a lot of them actually went a lot earlier. They started at 2 o'clock, but none of them went past 7. Yeah. So I just was wondering, you know, I'm sure that's for a reason.
And I mean, I think there's a good point that even if we do set it at 3, you could send your kids out at 4:30, but I think one of the concerns was from a bus driver in my area that it's hard when the kids are running around and they're just getting off the bus. So she was concerned safety-wise, traffic. So
the only thing I would add to that, though, is there are a lot of shift workers out there that may want to start with their kids earlier, though, too, like at noon. And if somebody has to leave for work that starts at 3 o'clock and is on a shift, what do they do if they want to spend time with their kids? So I see your concern, but I think it's been that way in the past for many, many years where it starts approximately that time. But I just want to make it fair for everybody.
No, I think the point is the fact that if we started at 3, that's right when kids are getting off the bus. So it's from, I think some of the kids in the bus are getting off, I think she had given me times 3, I think like 3:20, 3:30, 3:45, and 3:50.
Did she say if there was a problem prior with this? Because most littles, like preschoolers,
right.
That's the ones that go out really early because the parents don't want to be out later than dinner time.
I think that the concern was since there are more kids on the bus stops, it's taking them longer to get through the drop-off. So she just had asked that we just consider it, so that's why.
I have an idea. Can we just do 2 to 7:30? Call it a day. It covers everybody in early shifts, everybody in later shifts. 7:30 is not that bad, right? It's safe enough.
Or how about 2 to 7? I think so, because it's already dark at 7:30.
I was interested in the trustee Laha. She had a great point. You know, if you can give them 30 minutes more just to cover that time that they lose, because candy is very important.
Dark.
Don't you think that maybe buying them a bag of candy would be the safest thing and bring it to where you're not walking around because it's pitch black out right now and it is 7:54, but when we got here it was dark and it was almost 5:15. So it's real simple. All you're worried about are the kids, and if the parents aren't watching the kids, that's their fault. But this one here, and doing it till 7 or 7:30, spend 20 bucks, give them their candy, and they're fine. They're in a house, and you don't have to worry about a thing.
But usually if somebody's out doing that, they're with their parents. No.
And we have people from other neighborhoods come to our neighborhood just because of our sidewalks. It gets extremely crowded. I don't mind the trick-or-treaters, whatever time it is, but it does get extremely crowded on our streets, and there's a lot of kids. Like, parents drive and park on our streets, get out on both sides of the street. So it does get crowded, but I'm only speaking on my neighborhood. I don't know about other ones, but I have a special needs child that comes from Butler. He gets off the bus at 3:45 p.m. So what Trustee Lama mentioned, it does kind of make sense, but that's just from my viewpoint.
I think if you spread the timing, you spread the kids.
All right. So what time do you want to have it?
2 to 7:30, I think is
7:30
good.
sounds good.
There's not one 7:30 in Orland, Lockport, New Lenox, or
I
Lamont.
say we're very unique, 7:30. Trustee Laha, do you agree?
Yeah.
7:30?
I don't see, I don't personally see a problem with 7:30.
2 to 7:30.
Okay.
We need to make a motion to change that then?
Yes.
I'll make that motion to change the time
Who's
on,
the second?
I'll second it.
do you want
All in favor?
Well,
You have to let him make the motion. You have to let him make the motion.
the motion yet? All right.
just for the record, Trustee Reinders and Trustee Consolino made the original motions, just so everybody knows.
You know what, who made the motion?
Trustee Reinders made the first,
Go
and
with it, Rose, you go ahead and take it.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the village's past trick-or-treat hours of, no, I would like to make a motion to amend the trick-or-treat hours from 3 to 7 p.m. to 2 to 7:30.
So move.
well,
I will second that.
Okay,
Who's got a second?
I'll second it. Thank you.
Just in case.
I'm sorry, what are the hours? I didn't get
They're going to be 2 to 7:30 p.m.
2 to 7:30.
Roll call.
2 to 7:30.
can I
Okay,
take the roll
Madam Clerk, call the
now?
roll.
Harry, did you
Trustee,
have something to say as far as that, what just took place?
Trustee Rogers,
It's good.
Trustee Pazmino, Trustee Laha,
Aye.
Trustee Fielko,
Aye.
Trustee Consolino,
Aye.
and Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, consider for approval the appointment of Ron Cuss and Brent Westcott to the Public Services and Safety Committee.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Discussion? Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Trustee Pazmino,
Aye.
Trustee Laha,
Aye.
Trustee Fielko,
Aye.
Trustee Consolino,
Aye.
Trustee Reinders,
Aye.
and Trustee Rogers.
Motion carries. Next, consider for approval ordinance number 22-040, a request for 1, a variance to reduce a required side yard building setback from 20 feet to 11 feet, and 2, variance to increase the maximum driveway width from 28 feet to 33 feet for certain real property located at the R2 Single Family Residential District at 16454 South Spaniel Lake Court, Homer Glen, Illinois, HG 2216V.
So move.
I will second that.
Discussion?
I just want to make a note here that staff clarified, there was, under public testimony, there was, somebody had asked about, from the HOA, they were concerned about allowing the variances for impervious surfaces, and the staff did clarify that this variance did not increase impervious, and the proposed lot was well under the allowable impervious for the zoning district, and also the Planning Commission voted on this 5-1 to adopt.
Any other questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Laha, Trustee Consolino, Trustee Rogers, Trustee Reinders, Trustee Pazmino,
Aye.
Trustee Fielko.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 5, consider for approval ordinance number 22-041, a request for a variance to allow a fence to be installed on a lot with no principal structure as the village code requires that accessory uses must exist to be proposed to exist in connection with the principal use for certain real property located at the R5 Single Family Residential District on Lot 12 of Maryland Acres in connection with 14448 South Pebble Creek Drive, Homer Glen, Illinois, HG 2217.
So move.
I'll second.
I have one clarification to make that might answer a question if it gets brought up. I did notice, first of all, that attachment 1 has the subject lot areas shifted on the image, so I apologize for that. And number 2, attachment 2 shows the proposed fence that we presented at Plan Commission, and there was a condition, which is in the ordinance, I believe. They asked for the fence to be moved back to line up with the house's fence to the north. And that exhibit on attachment 2 doesn't show that, but it is in the ordinance that would be what would be, only what would be allowed.
Any other questions?
Yes, I had a question. So the owner of that property with the fencing in question, he owns a lot directly in front of him, correct?
Correct. Are they here?
I am here.
Almost done, trustee.
I'm Diane in the back.
Oh, perfect. Come on up. I got a couple questions for you. I'm not done. I'm good. Hi, how are you? So as far as the fence itself, this fence is going to cover, looks like both properties, the one you currently reside in?
Well, currently, I have the 2 properties. We bought Pebble Creek property in '74, and then when Maryland Estates was established, we bought that lot behind us. So currently, there are 4 homes that border the 2 properties, my 2 properties, and 3 of them have fences already. So we would be connecting to the existing fences, basically.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So for that back lot, because it looks like, I mean, you're putting wrought iron, so obviously.
My wrought iron, kind of the open look, just
Okay.
4 foot. We have a puppy.
Oh.
Yeah.
What kind of a puppy is it?
It's a golden retriever, very nice puppy, yeah. And I have 12 grandchildren out there, see, so we like
Gotcha.
just
Okay,
play out there.
that describes everything. Okay.
Now, the 2 properties, just with this blue line, I'm guessing, just looking at this this drawing that's on here, though, compared to what we see on the screen, you don't have anything dividing the 2 properties. They're continuous one into the other, right?
Right, it's all
And on
grass.
that backside, that actually is the facade to the rest of the houses on that block. I'm looking at the picture. It looks like you have a nice buffer there of fence or of trees to block the fence where you can't really see that, right?
I'm not sure. Along Elizabeth, there are some trees, yes.
So you can't really see that fence when it would be up in that back there at all, right?
Well, you would see it some. There's space between the trees.
But minimally?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
And,
So for that back part, do you plan on developing that rear lot, or is that going to be just
No.
part of your?
No.
Okay, so this fence is pretty much, one could say, security.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And those 2 lots have separate tax ID numbers, right?
Yes.
There's no effort to try and combine those at all, right?
No.
You're keeping them separate. So at any time, you could sell that lot if you wish in the back, or sell your house, or separate them however you wish to do, correct?
I don't know, I never thought about it. I guess I could.
believe so. Melissa?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure nothing had changed. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Fielko.
Aye.
Trustee Rogers. Trustee Pazmino.
Aye.
Trustee Reinders. Trustee Laha.
Aye.
Trustee Consolino.
Aye.
You're all set. Next, consider for approval ordinance number 22-042, a request for a variance to reduce the required side yard building setback from 25 feet to 19 feet for a certain real property located in the R1 Single Family Residential District at 14236 Spring Creek Road, Homer Glen, Illinois, HG 2218-V. I need a motion.
So move.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes. Melissa.
Yes. Oh, no, you're good.
As far as looking at the picture on page 3, or 5 of 8, the subject property and the 20, going from the, from 25 feet to 19 feet, side yard setback, you don't see any problems outside with water? I mean, it's close to water, you got that Spring Creek in the back, but with this and what they're asking for, and being that the Planning Commission looked at this 5-1, or 5-0 to adopt it, I always ask you, in addition to what we have on paper, for your opinion, and in this case, you don't see that as causing any problems with drainage, correct?
So I'm not an expert, but I would think that this would probably have little impact considering the existing home already sits in that location, so it's probably, and it's a pretty small addition. Brett could probably answer that question better than I can.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you look at attachment 1 on the aerial map, you can see where they're going to be adding the addition to the house. There's not an adjacent property immediately adjacent on that west lot to it. So I wouldn't have any concerns with drainage issues with the addition. It'd be a different story if the house was right next to it on the adjacent lot, but it's just open space there. So I would not foresee any issues with drainage.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Laha?
Aye.
And Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 7, consider for approval ordinance number 22-042, a request for a variance to reduce the required...
Wrong.
Consider for approval the reimbursement grant award under the Commercial Building Improvement Grant Program to the Phoenix Kitchen and Cocktails for eligible improvements at 15905 West 159th Street in the amount of $10,000.
So move.
Need a second?
Second.
Discussion.
I'd like to discuss that Phoenix is one of the 6 businesses in Homer Glen that receives the Village of Homer Glen Sales Tax Economic Development Incentive Policy. This is what we call standard operating procedure number 7. And what that does is it's a type of incentive where the sales tax rebate as a portion of new revenue to be generated by the proposed project from the 1% local sales tax. I wanted Rose and Ruben, you both sit on CED. I wanted to ask you if you, or even Janie, if you guys could explain this a little bit more, because they're already receiving an incentive, and I want everybody to understand what that incentive is, especially since we've only given out 6 of these incentives since we incorporated this procedure since 2013. And these are all like big box stores, and this is the only small business in Homer Glen that received this. So I'm not quite sure why they were eligible, being a small business, if this was supposed to be for big boxes, but it doesn't quite say that specifically in the standard operating procedure. And if we're going to be giving them this grant, I want to establish this thoroughly, because they're requesting the maximum with the incentive program of up to $125,000 or 10 years, whichever comes first.
Right.
So can you help explain this a little bit in layman terms?
Do you want to go ahead?
Or do you want Janie to?
No, we could explain it.
Well, pretty much what I went through earlier when we talked about the CED report, that situation, exactly what you're talking about, is why we streamlined that program, the SOP 7, which was pretty much meant for big box. You know, fortunately for Phoenix, they were able to benefit from that. You know, perhaps maybe, you know, somebody told them about it, they applied for it, and they got it. You know, bottom line is they have it. So at this point, with this by itself for the grant, they do qualify. They met all the requirements, and that's why they were given, or they were chosen to be, at this point, approved finally. As far as the SOP by itself, moving forward, only businesses showing $10 million or more in revenue will be even allowed to participate in the SOP 7 program. And the reason we did that was so that it wasn't an unfair advantage, because of course there were a lot of restaurants that were not offered that SOP 7. You know, they didn't know the right people, I guess. You know, that this will, what we did today, we'll make sure that never happens again.
I mean, I know that this got voted for them to have this right before we were sworn in on the board, but they're asking for the maximum amount with the grant program that we're offering with CED. How many other businesses have asked for the whole 10,000?
We do have a lot more applications on that are actually coming in for the grant. The total amount for the year that we're allotted to give out in grants is $60,000. We've had conversations before in the past where we thought we would need to increase it because of the need of the businesses. And just to point out that, myself and Ruben and a couple other trustees, we got beat up after this was given to the Phoenix, because, I mean, I've had other trustees that called me from years back to say, what are you doing? This was not supposed to be like this. It was only supposed to be.
You didn't vote for it. None of us did.
We didn't vote for it. So we got beat up, and then all the businesses that came to us and said that, well, why haven't I received this? Why wasn't I told about this? And this is something that we brought up with Janie, and this is why we have been reviewing this because of that. Because the businesses came to the trustees, and they were up in arms. I mean, places like Kenwood, Richard Supply, even the new Shorewood, they came to us and said, hey, wait a minute, why were we not told about this? So, I mean, that's why when we went back, we had to look at it. We said, moving forward, we need to be able to address what this was meant for. It was meant as an incentive to draw big businesses to Homer Glen and to keep them. So that was basically why we revisit it, and we can actually revisit it every year if we want, if things changes. It's not something that's written in stone. We can actually change it every year if there was a warrant for it. So,
with that being said, though, however, the Phoenix qualifies for this program. It's an excellent restaurant. I'm glad to have them as neighbors. They're right across the street. They bring a lot of business into Homer Glen, a lot of new customers. I think it's very well warranted for them to receive this because they followed all of the requirements. And if the max is 10,000, that's what they applied for, why not?
My concern, I have a quick question. I'm sorry, Dan, I'm going to be super quick. Rosie, when you said that this is meant, moving forward, it's meant to have the bigger businesses come.
Yes.
I love the smaller restaurants. I want to make sure that we're still attracting places like Taza and Ruby Agave and Phoenix, because I love to have options, and I think I don't want to, alienate the smaller.
No,
yeah.
that's not the intention.
Okay.
That's why we have the grants.
Okay.
And to be quite honest with you, me personally as a business, I would prefer to have a grant that's a lump sum as opposed to
payments.
Maybe I have a bad year. Right. I'm only going to get what I got in sales tax for that year.
Yeah, that makes sense.
My only point on this was that I feel like they've already been given a little assistance here that's still going to continue yet. And I feel like asking for the maximum amount when I know the majority of them that are applying are not asking for 10,000, I just feel like that's another leg up, especially when they are the only small business in Homer Glen that received this out of 6 stores. So that's what I have to say about it.
Well, just because we have it set at $10,000 doesn't mean we have to give the maximum amount, just like the grants with the state for the fest. There was anywhere from $10,000 to $1 million that you could ask for. We asked for, at the low end, I think we asked for $100,000. What I see this doing is pinching off at this cost, $10,000. I see it cutting off the opportunity for 6 other businesses if we were to cut this in half. We had this meeting and we talked about this at length, and we did talk about maybe giving less money, and I know we narrowed down the items that it could be used for, but I don't see why do we have to give the $10,000? Could we make an adjustment where we could have then 11 other people get $5,000? If we do this $10,000, that only leaves 5 more businesses to be able to make improvements at that point. So to me, I almost think that between the combination that we were talked about with the SOP 7, they're being taken care of with that agreement. That's not their fault. that they got it. I'm glad that they got it, and I like the Phoenix Kitchen also. Their food is great, their drinks are great, but the thing is, we have to be fair to the other businesses in the community, and Rose, you said that there's other people applying.
Yes.
I don't want to pinch off by giving the maximum amount to somebody right off the bat. Now, if we were at the end of the year and there was $10,000 left and nobody else was asking for it, I could see maybe going with a little bit more money, but at this point...
Janie, how many applications?
The program recycles itself from May to May, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So we've got till May of 2023 for the request to come in from other businesses, and maybe not all the businesses know about it, and they will after this, I don't know. But to give the maximum amount, I mean, that's a very... I mean, we could, but...
Just to give the board a little bit more background, this is the second fiscal year that the program's been available. In the first year, it was already, I think, October or September, I think it was, of the first fiscal year that the program was instituted, so part of the fiscal year had already transpired. The board at the time said if you had a building permit issued back to May 1 to kind of capture those businesses, and actually Crosstown Realtors was able to get a grant because of that situation. But we had a lot of inquiry. I worked with about, it was either 23 or 26 different inquiries came in, because I keep track of all of the inquiries from our businesses for that first fiscal year. And by a certain point in December, I had to let folks that had inquired but had not yet applied that know that we had run out of funds. In this current, when we were budgeting for this fiscal year, the board did raise the amount of funding for the program to $60,000. So far, we've only approved one, and Manager Morello was able to do that because it was under $5,000. And this is just the second application and the first one to come to the board this fiscal year, and we're already in, mid-October. Even though this was available and marketed, and every single business received an email. We did an e-blast. It's been posted on our website. We ran through a bunch of, on our Facebook, we ran through a bunch of different ways of pushing the information out that the program's been available. So far, I've only had, in comparison, 13 inquiries. So the amount of traffic has slowed down a little bit. Very recently, and within the past month, I've been very busy processing applications and helping tee up people to get ready to come in. Right now, I'm working with, apart from the one approved and this one before you tonight, there's 3 more potential applications coming in, but until they're complete, it's nothing that I can bring to the board, and I don't know that they'll get complete. So we have to keep working. So there's a lot of hand-holding and making sure we have apples-to-apples quotes with contractor estimates and things like that have to go into this. So just to give you an idea, it's we haven't run out of money. The money is there. We have notified businesses. We'll continue to do that. I continue to work with everybody that has contacted me so far to see, like, are you going to come in? Do you have any questions? How can I help you? The program is structured so that it's a 50% match up to a maximum of $10,000. So if you have a project that costs more than $20,000, you qualify for the maximum potential $10,000. That's why it's actually from the program eligibility that allows them the potential to get a $10,000 grant for this. The resurfacing, they're going to completely mill and resurface the entire parking lot, and that's a very costly project. So
that would be my next question. That parking lot in the building for Phoenix is a certain size right there, but there is also a strip mall to the south of there. So somewhere in the middle,
it's on there.
The parking is all owned by the restaurant?
They are going to make improvements on their own property.
Their own. So where does that stop? So only half the parking lot would be being taken care of at that point, because you have that other. So do you know where that boundary is in that parking lot?
Yeah, it's on.
I hadn't noticed anything that showed where they were going to start Well, I figure they start from the south side of Phoenix all the way going to the south, but where are they going to stop with the improvement?
Any
Yeah.
other questions?
We're still in discussion.
The agenda packet does not have an aerial to show you the boundaries, but it's entirely on their own pin.
No, understood that, but again, that still only leaves a portion of the parking lot resurfaced, right?
Right, but it's the parking lot next to the restaurant itself.
I did see, though,
There's a shared, Joe, are you here tonight?
Village Manager Morella, I saw something in the staff notes that we paid out I think it was 8,000, we paid out to the Butterfly School or something for part of this, wasn't that part of this program? The Butterfly Garden School?
The approved amount
And we
was-
approved money for that already, did we not?
The approved amount was just under $4,400.
$4,400, okay, so this isn't the first, how many, so this would be the second one that we'd be
Second one.
paying out to,
Right.
not the first?
And if this one is approved and the full $10,000 grant is provided, there would still be another $45,600 and change available to approve for additional new.
But how many applicants did you say you had inquiring that you're teeing up right now?
All of them come in with complete applications and the board approves everything for the maximum that I'm expecting at the moment, and this could change a little bit, we would still have 31,100 and change to work with more businesses, and that would be after we've assisted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I'm more concerned about how bad the economy is continuing to get day by day. And Dan, you know what you're talking about with holding back and sharing the wealth, that's kind of where I'm at with this, because I want to see everybody have an opportunity if they need it for any available funds, because I don't see this economy getting any better. Do you?
I have my question is of the 13 recipients that applied last year and were not able to get any of the grant money, have any of those people applied again this year?
So we had, the first year, we actually had 5 applications that were approved. Okay. And that used up all the money that we had. And the answer is, I think the Phoenix was interested in coming in at that time. They were thinking about their patio improvement at the time, but they got caught in the gap between when we ran out of money and when we got new money. Their project was already built at that point. The situation with the grant program is that you cannot move forward with your improvements that you're asking for grant assistance until you have a grant award approved by the board. So that,
Okay, but that was not my question. My question is, of the 13 people that did apply, did any of them come back to apply again?
no, we only had 5 applications the first year.
Well, you had said that there were people that wanted it and the money ran out.
This year, I had about, I can't remember, it's either 23 or 26, it's back in my office, was the first year. Those were inquiries. Out of the 26 inquiries, we only got 5 applications. This year, I've gotten 13 inquiries so far, and one's been approved, another one's in front of you, and I have 3 that have incomplete applications. They've been beginning to give me submittals.
If we, so you're saying of all of the ones that are still sitting on your desk, there would still be 31,000 after?
Correct.
If they had come in for the patio, for the $190,000 patio, it would still just be 10,000?
10,000, yeah. These are both expensive improvements the Phoenix is making.
And I agree with what the rest are saying insofar as like if we're going to ruin or, dole out all of this money at once. But that being said, they did follow the rules and they did it. So moving forward, we may want to change that verbiage. Maybe it's a percentage, or maybe it's something that's left open where we decide how much to do it. But for somebody that followed all the rules.
Yeah, I don't know that it would be okay to change it, since we've already set the precedent how it was until after, moving forward. Because if we have to compare apples to apples here with all the businesses. We can't,
What it says in the agreement, though.
I read it.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
I read it.
It says you can request up to. It doesn't mean that this board will give the whole amount. It means you can request up to, but it doesn't mean we have to do that. And we have to take other...
Isn't that based on the project cost, though? Right?
It's
Okay.
based on the cost of the project, but still, you can make a request up to, because yes, the project's a little more expensive. But at the same time, I just don't want to pinch off any potential other businesses that might want to take and benefit from this. And the thing is, you know what, this program, we haven't worked with it that often. It comes up once in a while. But is there something we could do that we could say, okay, if there's money left over, yes, they're requesting the $10,000. But if we only gave them $5,000 today, when we got close to May, if there's still enough money left over, that we could then meet their request, but knowing that we could hold off up to this point for other people that may want it. And if we don't get those people and we have the budget, we can then write a check later on to complete their request up to the total, would that be doable?
Well, I just have a suggestion, because this is already in the works. The CED committee at their upcoming November agenda intends to take a look at the grant program, okay? Which is this program we're talking about right now. And make some adjustments. And I think it might be more organized, and you'd have a committee's recommendations coming out of that discussion. And it's good to hear this discussion in preparation for the committee discussion as well. And that would do some adjustments potentially for the program going forward. As for what happens tonight, it's really up to the board.
Well, we had that meeting last year, and that was one of the things we did discuss, was to give it in smaller increments, because we didn't want only a couple businesses benefiting from it. So we did talk about it. We did talk about giving less money because we ran out of the money so fast last time. So we already talked about it. We said that we would give maybe less money because we want the pool to be bigger for more businesses to apply and then receive it. If we can, I don't know if we can do what I'm talking about at this point. I don't know if anybody can help me out.
As a recommendation to the board, Dan, I'm sorry to interrupt, we can definitely entertain that idea, but it would need to be a motion from the board. So right now we have a motion on the floor for the 10,000, but you guys can do a new motion where you want to only give half, and if there's funds available later at the time, we can give the other half. You guys definitely are in the purview to do that.
I would be comfortable with that, being that we don't know, and you've got 26 on deck that are looking.
If you're going to do that, the motion and the second, I believe you made a motion, Trustee Pasmino, and there was a second by
Trustee Laha.
You can either have your motion called for a vote, or withdraw your motion and allow it to be amended, one or the other.
I'd like my motion to go forward.
Pardon?
You want to keep it as is?
Yeah. They followed the rules. Those are the rules in place at the time. That's how I feel.
So unless there's additional discussion, then it would be appropriate to have a roll call on Trustee Pasmino's motion that was seconded by Trustee Laha.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you. Trustee Pasmino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Laha?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
No.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
No.
Next one, we consider for approval a contract with HR Agreement for engineering services to provide drainage study at the Eco Professional Complex in the amount of $13,190.
What was the vote?
Ouch.
Do I have a motion?
So move.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Discussion.
I'm sorry, who seconded that? Oh, Trustee Rogers?
Is there any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Pasmino?
Aye.
Trustee Laha?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino? Aye. Trustee Reinders?
Motion carries. Next, consider for approval resolution 22-012, resolution supporting the
acquisition and execution of the Illinois Transportation Enhancement Program, ITP, application and agreement between the Village of Homer, Glen and B3 companies for the design of a multi-use path to extend the Heroes Trail west and connect Heritage and Culver Park.
I'll make that motion.
Discussion?
Mayor, just so that the record is clear, when the agenda was prepared, it included a portion of the sentence with that said an agreement between the Village of Homer, Glen and B3 companies. It's really not part of this particular resolution. So the resolution is just to approve the Illinois Transportation Enhancement Program application for the design of a multi-use path to extend the Heroes Trail west and connect Heritage and Culver Park.
I'd like to say something about this, is that Village Manager Carmen Morello, myself, Brett, we all met with V3, and they basically showed us how they would go about doing this, and they actually suggested to us that they will be trying to apply for some grants for this project, but that in the event that we don't get any grants for the project, that their suggestion would be maybe to do this over a multi-year in order to be able to not break the budget, so that we had a plan to budget for 3 years if we would do something like this, if we couldn't get any grants. So just bring everybody up to speed.
Now, when you're talking about that, Rose, are you talking about for the future expansion all the way to I-355?
No,
or just this portion?
Just this portion of it, just this portion.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Pasmino?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Laha?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
And Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Next is June 10, consider for approval, payment to Joe Lycan for $8,627, and Jim Tautis and Ozra Borges in the amount of $3,040 for the right-of-way acquisition in preparation for 151st Street widening.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Discussion?
What this we covered this in admin and finance, and what this is we've actually already acquired these properties where this these people did not get paid yet. I don't know exactly how that happened. We weren't part of the board at that time when this took place. So to move forward with the 151st Street widening, which when we say widening, it's actually just putting in turning lanes. It's not putting in 4 lanes of traffic. But this property was acquired from these families to be able to do that. We've acquired those properties. They just have not been paid for those properties that were encroaching, or not encroaching, but taking to widen the road. And admin and finance agreed to unanimously to move forward to pay this.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino? Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Pasmino?
Aye.
Trustee Laha?
Aye.
And Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, 11, consider for approval ordinance number 22-043, ordinance rescinding ordinance number 01-066, entitled an ordinance creating the office of village collector, adopted August 21st, 2001.
So move.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
In regards to this isn't taking anything away from anybody. It is removing the collector's pay, which will end up saving the village, I believe it's $26,500. We do have somebody in the office that will be taking those duties from May 1st and completing them from in the office as a job title, which is the deputy clerk. So we are not taking anything away from anybody. I believe it's the clerk that now gets that salary or that pay. The clerk is not running for clerk again, so we're not taking anything away from anybody. I want that to be clear. In the meantime, when our budget comes up and we start with our new budget on May 1st, this pay of the $26,500 will be all over with. So that gives the village manager some financial room to work with staff and to tweak the offers however he needs to make adjustments that should help out in that regard.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Cancelino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Laha?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
And Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next would be old business.
Okay, I would like to discuss flat cameras. I also have a second part that I would like to discuss tonight, but if anybody else has anything, jump in after flat cameras, give me a break, and then I'll come back to what I want to revisit. Let's make it a break. All right, so per the board's discussion on 9/28/2022 at our village board meeting regarding the flat camera system, did a lot of homework right after the meeting. According to our village records, the village did not do their due diligence with obtaining any other bids for the flat camera system. Trustee Rogers, you were incorrect when you stated that we did. We did not put it out for bid.
I believe that we would vote without him, but apparently we did.
So Dan Murdoch of Flock Safety presented a workshop to us on 1/26/22, where we voted for a contract with 10 flat cameras. George signed the contract on 2/7/2022. Cost of the installation and subscription for the first year is $29,000. It will be $25,000 for the subscription starting in 2023. The price was supposed to increase in March of 2022. We still haven't heard why. I've had village manager inquire as to what the increase was in March. He hasn't received that back yet. Be advised, the contract states that Flock Safety will install, maintain, and own the cameras. Flock Safety also has been unresponsive and/or ambiguous to the village manager's inquiries the past few months as to why the remaining cameras have not been installed, except to state it was regarding permitting getting picked back. How are we able to get the first 2 cameras if permitting is an issue? To date, we only have 2 out of the 10 cameras installed. It is now going on 9 months. Flock Safety's representative did not respond to our village manager that they did respond last week and stated that they were unable to attend tonight's village board meeting. The contract and the costs were never discussed before A&F prior to approaching our new board members being sworn in. 4 of us were sworn in on May 12, 2021. On May 5th, 2021, Dirk Obermeyer with the Will County Sheriff's Department presented the Flock Safety Camera Workshop before the Public Services and Safety Committee. It passed before former trustee Barack Backel and his committee. On 5/12/21, it came before the new board members. Trustee Fialko tabled the motion for the cameras, and Trustee Rogers stated that it had been tabled once before. However, when I reviewed all the village board meetings for the 12 months prior, I cannot find anywhere where it came up and where it was tabled. Trustee Fialko, when you tabled the cameras in May 2021, you said it was because you wanted to see if other suburbs that were going to use the system, like example, Orland Park, could assist us with the costs. Trustee Rogers then sent it back to my committee, Public Safety and Services, but I'm not quite sure why, because it already passed that committee. It's my understanding that our surrounding suburbs are sharing a software with us. Is that correct, Carmen? This is a shared software. So a lot of people are using their own cameras. So we have an option to purchase our own cameras if we still want to do this. I researched through our village board meetings, agendas and minutes, as well as administration and finances, public services and safety committees to find all the above information that I've been presenting to you. I also think that this should be the green light for us to go ahead and look for at least 2 more bids, and this is what we motioned at the last board meeting. I also think that we should look at the costs associated with purchasing our own cameras, such as Orland Park has. Part of the costs associated with the Flock's cameras is the fact that they own and maintain the cameras. We will not. So it may be cheaper to get them on our own. We also need to acquire all emails from our former village employees, Matt Walsh and Sean McKee, regarding flock safety. Mr. McKee was the point of contact on our end for this contract, and he was also very vocal to our elected officials, both on and off the podium, in his support of this contract. So that's all I have to report on flock safety.
I would just add to that I also think it speaks volumes that we asked them to come to this meeting, and they knew that they could potentially be losing it, and they couldn't send anybody from the whole company to the meeting?
So right after the last meeting, I reached out to Flock. I actually got escalated to a higher salesperson in the Flock system, Hector, and he lives out of state. He could not make it to this meeting from pre-engagements, but he is requested to come to the 26th meeting, as I stated in A&F. So they are slotted. He has a plane flight coming out for the 26th to answer questions to this board. And he's going to give a timeline of what happened, because I think they have some explaining to do. And speaking with Hector this afternoon, that's his process.
Okay.
Okay.
I think the thing that speaks volumes, though, is this was never put out to bid. That's where it comes back to the biggest item, in my opinion.
Is there a reason why it wasn't? Do we know?
No, this was actually, no.
And yet we voted on it. So shame on us.
Oh, I mean,
well,
I didn't know if this
to
falls into a
be
different
honest
category.
here, this is before, yes, we voted on it, but this all went through committee and was addressed prior to us even getting sworn on the board. So it came to our first meeting that we were sworn in on, so.
We voted for it.
If I may.
You're not proposing to, obviously we can't do any action items at this point. Are you looking for something to be on the 26th? I mean, with them coming in?
We could discuss with them, but like I said, we've got the green light now to get more bids from other companies, as well as I think that we should be actually, here, I would like to motion that we start looking into the costs of buying our own camera system. And then that way, all we would have to do is pay a subscription for the software.
So you want a motion on the next agenda, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, and speaking with Flock, they're going to come out and speak on this particular item. But as this moment right now, there's some permits in our office to move forward with, but they're on hold because of the last board discussion. So everything that's with Flock is on hold, and they have been told that via telephone and email, just an FYI.
And I just want to double check too, they never gave you the price increase that occurred in March.
They have not.
Thank you.
So really quick, as far as buying, I would like to have so are we planning like a workshop on this and starting the process over, as opposed to just looking for the purchase of new cameras, because of the fact that, see, I'm in the restaurant business and I know never to buy anything outright. You're better off leasing it, because if it goes down, they're responsible for it. So it's better off.
I think just having some prices on buying our own, possibly for the next meeting, so that we could see as a reference.
I'd like to see both, and possibly another workshop.
This is not a definitive on any level, but what is definitive is that we're going to go out for bid on this. So we want.
That other one's dead, basically is what we're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
Does anybody else have anything?
What do you mean for old business?
Okay, I've got one more thing for.
I got something after you.
Okay, why don't you go first, and then I'll come in after. Or you want me to go first?
Jennifer, you hit it, so let's have
Okay,
you.
so to beat the dead horse again, there's some information that came to light past week that I just wanted to go publicly on the record with regarding the forgery investigation. In promoting transparency by the village board, I'd like to read the following information that I received last week from Deputy Chief Jungles of the Will County Sheriff's Office after I questioned the officers involved with the forgery investigation on why Deputy Jungles had stated on September 29th via a news article that the forgery investigation was closed, but had not notified this board. For those who are here or watched the video, we were again told by our lieutenant at the September 28th board meeting it was still ongoing and that there was no status. Mr. Jungles initiated an email to me on 10/4/22. Lieutenant Jeff Taylor recently forwarded an email that you sent to him in regards to a forgery complaint of Homer Glen Mayor George Yukich that was filed on 6/15/22. In the email, you referenced a Daily Southtown article that was written on 9/29/2022, in which I commented on the investigation. It is true that I spoke to the Daily Southtown on September 29th, and I did send them an email responding to their questions in regards to the investigation. I can tell you with 100% certainty that when Lieutenant Taylor was present at your board meeting the day before and reported that he had nothing to report, that was a correct statement. Lieutenant Taylor does not work in the Criminal Investigations Division, and typically he does not receive updates in the division in regards to cases assigned to detectives. Prior to making those statements to the media, members of the Will County Sheriff's Office had a meeting with the victim, George Yukich, and explained to him the outcome of the investigation. Typically, when a determination is made on whether or not charges get filed in a case, detectives will meet with the victim to explain the findings or rationale behind the determination. In this case, that was done, and the victim, Mayor Yukich, was provided that information. What Mayor Yukich does with that information is completely up to him, because he is the victim listed in the report. Furthermore, Detective Strom met with members of the Will County State's Attorney's Office in regards to the investigation and was told by the Will County State's Attorney's Office that a crime had not been committed. She was advised by the state's attorneys that even if the signature was forged on the document, there was no financial gain associated to the use of his signature. There will be no criminal charges filed in regards to this investigation because the document was deemed to be likely signed by Mayor Yukich, and according to the state's attorney, no crime had been committed. I hope this clears up any questions that you may have, and if you need anything further, my contact information is listed below. My response, on the same day, Deputy Chief Jungles, our board is requesting your documented outcome from the investigation. What date did the Will County Sheriff's Office have this meeting with George Yukich? What date did your department close the investigation? Trustee Dan Fialco and Village Manager Carmen Morella initiated the investigation process. Village Board of Homer Glen voted on 6/17/2022 for there to be an investigation. George Yukich stated for the record he did not want an investigation. The Village of Homer Glen Board also voted for forensic consultant that is contracted by the State of Illinois Police, who you contract with for forgery investigations. Village of Homer Glen also paid for this analysis with no cost to the Will County Sheriff's Office. Can you please tell us why the Will County Sheriff's Office did not hire a forensic handwriting analyst for this case, since this was a state document and a forgery in a municipality? In reading your email, is it common practice to give the victim the findings when they themselves are under investigation? Or did the Will County State's Attorney not choose to investigate George Yukich and consider him a suspect after KDX Forensics Consulting stated the signature was highly probable to be his? And Mr. Jungle sent me another email the next day. I wanted to take a moment to respond to your email and address some of your questions so that you can provide that information to your board. That's what I'm doing. The last meeting that Detective Strom had with Mayor George Yukich took place on 9/20/2022. That was also the day that Detective Strom received a copy of the handwriting analysis from KDX Forensic. Detective Strom subsequently closed the investigation on 9/29/2022. Will County Sheriff's Office was contacted on 6/15, and a report was taken by a patrol deputy indicating that an application for State of Illinois Special Event Retailer liquor license, which is a not-for-profit, may have contained a forged signature of Mayor George Yukich. In the eyes of the Will County Sheriff's Office, what your board decided on 6/17/2022 meeting has no bearing on whether or not the alleged crime gets investigated or not. The report was already filed on 6/15/2022, and events were set into motion for detectives to investigate the complaint. As far as why we did not hire a handwriting analyst expert in regards to this investigation is quite simple. I stated in a previous email that Detective Strom met with members of the Will County State's Attorney Office who indicated that no crime was committed. The information relayed to Detective Strom by them was that even if the signature on the document was not Mayor Yukich's, the signing of the document was not a crime because there was no financial gain. Knowing that information, Will County Sheriff's Office was not going to pay for a service if in the eyes of the Will County State's Attorney, no crime was committed. If the Will County State's Attorney to pay for handwriting analysis of a document if in fact there is no crime. Investigating of crimes has to be based on facts, not opinions and beliefs. Detectives will use those facts to present a case to the Will County State's Attorney whose job it is to prosecute a case. If I can assist you any further on the matter, please let me know. So I'd like to leave you guys with this. I think it's prudent to let all of our village residents know that your mayor was fully informed that the Will County Sheriff's Office had their findings from their investigation, gave it to him, and that they were not going to prosecute him because they did not believe there was any financial gain. However, this board was not informed, nor was the village manager. The mayor knew the findings and all of the information that was provided to me by Deputy Jungle, on the 5th of this month. He knew all of this on the 20th, and he sat on this board at our last meeting, arguing and dragging out, professing his innocence over and over again as we censured him on September 28th. More importantly, he did not provide any of this information to this board or our residents when Lieutenant Taylor stood at that podium and said this was still a pending investigation and that there was nothing to report. George Yukich knew all of this information when no one else provided us with it. This is your mayor, Homer Glen. He continues to demonstrate a blatant lack of integrity and competency with his duties. I inquired with the mayor right after I received these emails, and I received, of course, no response. Why would he? He's just going to tell me to go look in a mirror. So his lack of accountability is deafening, and I would go so far as to consider this an abuse of his authority as a mayor. And that's all I have to report.
Carmen, do we have any RFPs on the side, the fascia and the gutters? Where are we at with that?
We're still in the process of answering questions regarding some of the technical information. In about 3 weeks, we'll be answering those questions.
Technical information on our gutters?
Materials, type of materials, thickness of aluminum.
Yeah. Okay, have we got 3 people looking at it yet, or where are we at?
I think 4 or 5 inquiries.
Okay, so you're assuming that'll be, or you figure that'll be taken care of in a week, 2 weeks? Where are we at with it?
There's specific dates listed in the RFP, which are online.
Joe, can I ask you? I mean, I don't want to go online right now to see.
November 15th will have. Yeah.
November 15th? Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there any other old business? You said you had something. New business?
Under new business, I have brought it up before, and I discussed this with Carmen, and I know, Mayor Yukich, you had said that you've looked into this before, but I keep getting asked this question, and as far as a post office in our village, if we could explore that one more time to see why we didn't get it, maybe because now we're under home rule, still we can get a post office. I'm not sure, I don't know all the steps to getting that, but I've been asked quite a few times about getting a post office in our own village now that we're a pretty big village. So if you could at least start the ball rolling to looking into that as to why not, or if we can, and we can go from there. In addition to that, Mayor Yukich, I'd like to ask you under new business if we can allow after the Pledge of Allegiance to have a prayer. And if, depending on your answer, you can let me know would you be able to let me know if that's okay right now or not? And starting with the next meeting, we would start having a small prayer after the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah, that's fine, but it also has to go for every denomination. You just can't have one.
Well, usually it's a generalized prayer. It's not one denomination or another, but I believe Father Tom is willing to do that from a local church. We could even rotate it if you want. Carrie, with what the mayor just said, are there stipulations as to denomination? I mean, I looked at other villages and they just say a short prayer. Matter of fact, It was their police officer that said a short prayer. It isn't to make it all, you know, a formality here. It's just to have a short prayer for our village, and it could be a different person every time. It could be Father Tom, it could be anybody. But as far as doing this, Carrie, we don't have to say it's got to be a certain, or all, we don't have time for prayers from all denominations in one day before a meeting. So to answer Mayor Yukich's response, what would we say to that?
I don't really have an answer right now, trustee. I would just like to do some research. I don't know that it's something that I can give you a definitive answer on, but I will do some research and provide that information to Mayor Yukich, okay?
In the meantime, Mayor Yukich, would you be okay with the local church, Father Tom, to come and give a short little prayer?
I think we should wait till the council looks in it. It doesn't seem.
We have all these other villages that are already doing it, so I mean.
That doesn't mean they're doing it right.
Okay, so you're not for prayer right away?
No, I'd rather wait until Kerry looks into it.
Okay.
Is there any other new business?
Well, let me finish up with that. If we have to make it in an ordinance, change the ordinance to include it after the Pledge of Allegiance, we can do that. So that's the direction I'm heading if we run into any problem. But I would like clarity on it from you, Carrie, if we could.
I'll do some research and report.
I think it would be a great idea if allowed. I know that the county does it, so, but it'd be nice. That's just my feedback.
I don't have a problem with it, just I don't want any discrimination.
Correct.
All right, is there any other new business? Is there anything for executive session?
Mayor, the village manager informed me that he would like to go into executive session to discuss compensation of an employee, which is a permitted subject under the Open Meetings Act, as well as to give the board an update on collective bargaining with International Union of Operating Engineers Local 150, which is also a permitted subject for closed session under the Open Meetings Act.
Okay. Well, I need a...
I'll make that motion to go into executive session.
I'll second.
I'd like to have a 5-minute break for everybody, though, if we could.
That's fine.
Thank you.